They pray, they lead, they shine, but behind closed doors they battle a craving and isolation. Nobody talks about it. This is the unspoken war of the chosen and why they struggle with lust. Matthew 26:41. Watch and pray, that ye not enter into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak. Temptation doesn't knock loud. It creeps in, especially when no one's watching. Even the strongest believers feel it. Those that have been set apart, called, and anointed, they worship but silently wonder, why am I still fighting this? Lust isn't always about rebellion. Sometimes it's about deep spiritual exhaustion, the kind no one sees. Because when the outside says strong, the inside often whispers, I'm not okay. This struggle doesn't mean they've fallen away. It means they're still in the fight. And the real battle? It's not always visible to others, but it's brutal, personal, and real. Almost a hidden war of sort for the chosen. Set apart by God, but left alone long enough, temptation starts speaking. Being chosen often means being separated. Friends don't understand you. Family pulls away. You carry burdens no one else can see, and no one helps you carry them. In that silence, in that sacred loneliness, a voice begins to whisper. Lust doesn't always come screaming. Sometimes it comes gently, offering comfort, escape, warmth in the cold. Chosen ones crave connection, but isolation leaves a void, and lust promises to fill it, even if only for a moment. But the cost is always higher than the comfort. What starts as a moment of relief slowly becomes a cycle of guilt, shame, and secrecy. When no one's watching, that's when the enemy speaks the loudest. What feels like love looks like healing, but leaves you emptier each time. Lust wears the mask of intimacy. What it offers feels like closeness without the weight of commitment, without the risk of rejection. It's instant, easy, always available. And for those who have been emotionally starved, it feels like relief. But what it gives in seconds steals in years. Your peace, your confidence, your sense of worth. Chosen ones often confuse the rush of lust with the embrace of love. But it's a counterfeit connection. It doesn't heal loneliness, it deepens it. And afterwards, you're left more isolated than before, wrapped in shame, wondering how you ended up here again. It's a trap with velvet walls. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're hunted because you're powerful. Ephesians 6:11. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. This is way more than just temptation, this war. And the enemy doesn't waste his weapons on the lukewarm. The greater your calling, the more calculated the attacks. Nothing is random. The strikes? Targeted, aimed straight at your integrity, your focus, and your spiritual authority. All mistake it for pleasure, but in reality, it is sabotage. If the enemy can taint your purity, he can weaken your voice. Because purity isn't just personal, it's powerful. It carries anointing. It commands respect in the spirit. So the chosen are hit hardest, not because they're weak, but because they are dangerous. And in spiritual warfare, lust is one of hell's sharpest blades. What if you are delivered, but still battle feels even darker and deeper? John 8:36. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Freedom is real, but freedom doesn't mean the absence of temptation. It means the power to resist it. Many believe deliverance erases desire, but for chosen ones, the struggle often resurfaces in new forms, new seasons, and when it does, they feel ashamed. Why am I still fighting this? But struggling doesn't mean failure. It means the war is still on and you haven't completely surrendered. The enemy wants you to mistake temptation for defeat. He wants you to feel dirty for being in the fight at all. But know that silence breeds shame, and shame gives sin more power. Freedom isn't the absence of a fight, it's the refusal to bow. You've been made new, but your body still remembers the chains you broke. Romans 7:19. For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing. Salvation renews your spirit. The flesh, it doesn't forget that easily. Even after deliverance, your body still carries echoes of what it touched, wanted, desired. The smell, the rhythm, the pattern. These aren't just temptations, they have turned into muscle memory. And chosen ones often confuse this residue with failure. But here's the thing, it's not always new desire. Sometimes it's just old wiring trying to resurrect. You're not going backward, you're being refined. The fight is a sign of resistance, not regression. Because while the spirit is reborn in a moment, the flesh unlearns in a lifetime. You closed the door, but left the window cracked, and darkness crept in. Ephesians 4:27. Do not give the devil a foothold. The enemy doesn't need a wide open door. That small, forgotten crack is enough. A playlist, a text thread, a memory you secretly revisit. Chosen ones often leave just enough space for the past to breathe. But what we tolerate in secret becomes what controls us in silence. You can't fight what you're still secretly feeding. Surrender is not just about what you've walked away from. It's about what you've completely cut off. Beneath the craving for pleasure is a cry from a wounded soul. Psalm 147:3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Lust is often not the root, merely symptom. Behind the desire lies something deeper: rejection, abandonment, betrayal. For many chosen ones, the pain goes unspoken. They carry it into adulthood in silence. And when it becomes too heavy to bear, they reach for relief. Remember, lust doesn't ask questions. It doesn't judge. It offers quick pleasure and temporary numbness. That's addicting. But when the feeling fades, the wound is still there, deeper than before. The chosen ones aren't reckless, but they fall because they're bleeding under the armor. And sometimes, pleasure becomes the only thing loud enough to drown the pain. Leading in public, but in private, they're drowning in silent shame. James 4:6. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Chosen ones are often placed on pedestals, leaders, intercessors, voices of authority. They're expected to be strong, unshakable, and flawless. So when lust creeps in, they bury it. They're too afraid to confess, too proud to ask for help, too terrified of what people might say if the truth got out. But that silence, it becomes a breeding ground for deeper bondage. And the longer they keep quiet, the louder the sin becomes. Confession doesn't make you weak, it makes you free, because healing always starts with humility. God doesn't bless appearances, He blesses the honest cry for help. You've stumbled. Your story is far from over. God still calls your name. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. You've battled, you've fallen, maybe more than once. But here's the truth. Your struggle doesn't disqualify you. It proves you're still in the fight. Paul wrestled with a thorn. David fell to lust. Samson was bound by his weakness. And yet, God still used them, because He doesn't anoint the perfect. He perfects the willing. Chosen doesn't mean you never fall. It means you rise again anyway. So ask yourself today, is there a corner of your heart that you have kept hidden?